February 11th, 2025 Daily Bread. Daniel chapter 3, verse 19 through 30. Key verse 25. Title, No Other God Can Save. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisers, "Weren't there 3 men that were tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied, "Certainly, your majesty." He said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like the son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisers crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants." They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Daily Bread Message. King Nebuchadnezzar's pride was greatly offended by their refusal to bow before his idol. He ordered the fire to be made 7 times hotter, and his strongest soldiers bind them and throw them into the furnace. Ironically, the soldiers were killed by the flames, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were unharmed. Rather, they were walking in the fire, and with them was a 4th man who looked like the Son of God. The king witnessed these things, as did all his officials, and they knew God had saved them. Nebuchadnezzar called to them to come out of the furnace, and they did. God completely saved them. Their story can be our story when we trust in God, who loves us and is completely able to save us from every peril. In complete fear of God, the king commanded that no one speak a word against God, and the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When God's servants refused to bow down to idols or serve other gods, they were saved and prospered. We learn how to live in an anti-Christian world which tries to force us to deny our faith in Christ and abandon godly values and principles. Prayer. Father, thank you for quenching the fury of the flames. Thank you for saving me as no one else can. Help me to stand firm in my faith. One word, God alone saves me from the fire.